What's up guys, Cine Critique here, and today we're going to be talking about this little indie film I've been wanting to check out for a while now. It's called Swallow. This was a movie that was getting a lot of press in the media back in February, before all this quarantine stuff happened. It was being talked about as this provocative psychological thriller. I finally had the time to watch it, and after watching it I knew I just had to make an explainer video on this movie. I will be talking some major spoilers, so if you haven't seen Swallow yet, I highly recommend you check that movie out, then come back and join us for the rest of this video. And of course, if you like this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button to support the channel and keep it growing. And with all that out the way, let's talk about Swallow. So Swallow follows the story of this woman. Her name is Hunter and she's played by this Jennifer Lawrence lookalike Haley Bennett. She marries into this super rich family. Her husband Richie is about to take over as CEO of his father's Manhattan corporation, and like all other rich super families in movies these days, they appear nice on the surface, but deep down inside they only care about themselves and their family's legacy. Feeling physically and emotionally controlled in her marriage, Hunter develops an impulse to consume inedible objects, a disorder commonly known as pica. The movie starts off with Hunter doing a good job fitting in with her husband and her family. The movie highlights some of the positive things Hunter finds in her lifestyle, like the ability to stay home and work on her arts and crafts. The only thing she has to do is make sure the house is clean and food is ready by the time her husband Richie is home for dinner. That might sound easy and desirable on the surface, but Hunter is treated more like an object or prop to this family than an actual person, and we see that play out early on in the film, where she attempts to tell Richie's family a story.
It was like this religious calling or something. He had to blow
Oh, by the way,
kisses.
Richie, before I forget, how is it left with the Carver people?
We see this happen to Hunter quite a few times in this film, primarily done by her husband Richie. The stuff he says and the image he projects says he loves his wife, but his actions tell the real story of a man that is completely motivated by his own self-interest. He's distant and just a very rude and inconsiderate person. His parents are no better, as they have control over big things like how she spends her time, and little trivial things like how she does her hair.
You would look so pretty with long hair. You should grow it out. Richie likes his girls with long, beautiful hair.
Things take an even darker turn for the worst when Hunter finds out she's pregnant with Richie's kid. She already knows she has no control over anything of what goes on in the world around her, but now she doesn't even have control over her own body. Hunter is clearly at a tipping point, and we see it boil over through her new, almost childlike desire to put things in her mouth and eat them. Things from marbles to thumbtacks to batteries. It's some pretty disturbing stuff, and I don't know if I've ever seen a movie that made me gag quite like this one. Shout out to Haley Bennett, by the way, who totally nails every facet of this character. She won Best Actress at Tribeca for this role last year, and after watching this movie, it's no question why. She deserves all the praise she's getting from this movie. This is honestly the best acting performance I've seen this year, hands down. Elizabeth Moss actually did a great job playing a similar character in The Invisible Man, but Haley Bennett blows that shit right out the water. I don't know if Swallow counts as a 2019 or 2020 movie or not, but if there's any way to get Haley Bennett to the Oscars for this role, that needs to happen.
I've never done anything like this before. I can't help it.
As this movie goes along, we see how this new disorder starts to affect Hunter. She starts to receive horrible stomach pains, and it doesn't take long for Richie and his parents to find out what's happening. This causes them to be even more controlling than they already were, as they hire this creepy immigrant from Syria to basically follow her around and force her to see a psychiatrist in the city. Again, these kind of gestures make it appear like Richie's family actually cares for her, but the only reason they're even pretending is because she's carrying the family heir, thus being tied to their legacy. It's through these forced therapy sessions Hunter is forced to attend where we learn the underlying causes of her disorder. In what's probably the most important scene in the film, she tells a psychiatrist that her mother was raped by some random guy at a bar one night, resulting in her birth, and it's this revelation that gives us more of a clear understanding of what's going on in Hunter's mind. Not only is she experiencing a lack of control over her own life, but her actual existence is predicated on a man taking full control over a woman. Hunter definitely sees the parallels between what happened to her mother and what's going on in her own life, and she'd rather self-destruct than let history repeat itself. It also doesn't help matters that Hunter absolutely can't trust anybody in this movie. Everybody, other than Hunter, is kind of a piece of shit. Nobody can keep a secret. Even the psychiatrist whose job it is to keep secrets blabs about it to Richie once he threatens to fire her. It's pretty sad seeing Hunter in search for some deep human connection, but getting rejected at every turn, including her own mother.
Please. I won't get in the way.
There's just no room, doll.
Eventually, after being forced by Richie's family to enter a psychiatric hospital until she delivers her baby, Hunter gets the courage to escape as she climbs out a window and hitchhikes to safety, in a scene very similar to how Elizabeth Moss escapes in Invisible Man. Now that I think of it, there are quite a few scenes that are similar to The Invisible Man, and if it wasn't for The Invisible Man himself, these are pretty much the same movies, but that's neither here nor there. Once Hunter escapes, we see her check into a hotel, and even though she's escaped from her husband and in-laws, she's still suffering from this disorder. In one of my favorite scenes from the whole movie, we see Hunter on her knees on the side of her bed, eating dirt like she was eating peanuts at a baseball game. I wanted to examine this scene because a lot of the film's story gets told here. She's watching a program or commercial, whatever it is, and it's an image of a little girl holding up a walnut the same way she's holding up that marble at the beginning of the movie. It pretty much confirms that this whole ordeal is tied to her own childhood and how she was conceived. This is confirmed the very next day, or the very next scene, when she hitchhikes to the home of her biological father, now a married man with a wife and daughter of his own, and confronts him about his past. This scene is extremely liberating for Hunter, as we see her finally take control of her own life.
Don't touch me!
Keep your voice down.
I will do whatever the fuck I want. I make the rules here. I'm in charge, okay?
Having finally received closure from her biological father, played awesomely by Dennis O'Hare by the way, Hunter visits a clinic and is prescribed medication for an abortion. She takes the medication, then has the abortion in a mall bathroom, where the movie ends. A lot of this movie is going to come down to what your expectations are going in. If you're expecting a psychological horror movie or horror thriller, you might be disappointed. This was more of a provocative psychological drama that turns into more of a traditional drama as the movie goes on, with Hunter coming to terms with her life and how she was conceived. This movie will make you feel a certain way. It definitely made me want to gag like no movie I've seen before, and I was just so captivated by Haley Bennett's performance. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the writer and director. It would almost be criminal if I didn't mention his name. His name is Carlo Marinela-Davis. This is his first feature film. He doesn't even have his own Wikipedia yet, but in one film he changed his whole trajectory because so many more eyes are gonna be on him going forward after making this movie. This is an easy 9.1 for me. I don't give many 9s in my reviews, but this one is a no-brainer. But alright guys, that's Swallow reviewed and explained. Let me know what you think about Swallow in the comments below, and if you've made it this far, maybe you're willing to go a little further. Support the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more explanations and reviews. And remember, movies may fade, but real legends never die.